What's up, y'all? Alright, so it's been a while since I did one of my gardening videos because I've been real busy. But I just bought a brand new raised bed galvanized steel planter that I'm going to put in my garden outside. And I'm going to put it together here and then I'm going to take it outside and basically get it started. So let's put it together. Alright, so you can see that this is going to take a while. And so I'm going to spare you guys all the details. I'm just going to kind of like show some of the main points of what I'm putting together. So yeah, anyhow, I'm not going to bore you guys with just this stuff. Okay, so it probably took me about 15 minutes or so to just put this one side up. And yeah, it's going to take me a little while, but I kind of got the flow going. But this is going to be a pretty big bed. It's bigger than I thought. So yeah, this is going to be kind of interesting. I wonder if I need to put it together and then take it down, or take it down to the garden and put it together. I'm just going to put it together and then we'll deal with whatever happens after that. Okay? So anyway. Alright, so I just wanted to show the nearly finished product. Took me a while. I had to start and stop because I had other things I need to do during the day, and I still need to put a few screws in. But this thing is a lot bigger than I thought. So it's 8 by 4 by 2, and I just didn't visualize it, but this is going to require a whole lot of soil. But of course, we're not just going to put straight soil up in here. We're going to put some other things in here too that I plan on showing in the video. But yeah, this is a real deal right here. Alright, so that's the garden that we're gonna replace, the wooden one over there. I'm gonna take the little corner things and put them in that garden, on that garden there, to make that garden a bit taller. But yeah, that's the garden that's gonna be replaced. Alright, so I'm gonna start layering this bed with these logs and stuff. A lot of big branches and just pieces of wood kind of around the house and stuff like that. There was a lot of big pieces of wood that were cut off of a pear tree in our front yard, and I'm gonna put in there, and a lot of stuff, because again, there's no way I'm filling this with dirt, so we got to put these logs in there. Let me do that right now. Alright, so there's that with some logs in there. There's some more I can get, but it's getting kind of late, so that's gonna be it for tonight. Alright, so here we go. So we had this thing pretty full of, you know, big logs and twigs and things like that that'll serve as the base of this huge raised bed garden planter. Again, I didn't actually anticipate, I mean, I knew it was 2 feet tall, but I still didn't really get like a good mental picture of like what that was gonna look like. So anyway, you also see pine cones and stuff in there. So I got my kids to gather a lot of pine cones and other small pieces of wood. And the whole rationale behind putting this in the bottom, one is to fill this thing only with soil would be incredibly expensive. But then two, the other thing is these things will take a while to decompose, and putting them in the bottom gives them that time that they need to decompose and kind of gradually over a long period of time feed the soil, you know, as they get broken down by microbes and worms and all those things that do that stuff. And then also there's aeration, because there's a lot of air between there that kind of helps with the microbes and everything. But yeah, really those are the main two things. Oh yeah, the other thing I want to say is when you put the stuff on top of it that I'm gonna put on top next, that being on top will also help to decompose it. So this is gonna be covered in soil, but then also some other things I'm gonna put in here This is taking me a while to do because I have to fit it between all of my other life stuff, but I'm dedicated to getting it done, because I really believe that being serious about this garden stuff is like where it's at. All right, more in the next video. Okay, the next phase in getting this huge bed ready is adding some scraps. Now I have two 5-gallon buckets of just various kitchen scraps that are fresh. I typically put them in a galvanized trash can. That's kind of like my lazy composting method. But this time I'm just putting these directly in here again. I'm putting them down here with the logs and the wood and pine cones, because this is going to be stuff that I don't want animals to get to. So I'm going to put this here and I'm going to bury it. And I also want to give this stuff an opportunity to decompose. So I'm putting it down in there so it'll feed the garden over time. So you see it's potato peels, eggshells, cabbage pieces, banana peels, sweet potato peels, all kinds of stuff. There's even some bones that we use for broth that I just kind of put in there. Again, going toward the bottom because a lot of these animals out here in this forest will love to get this stuff. So we're gonna make sure we bury it. All right, here we go. See, that right there was just that actually came from like one of our came from the chicken cage or whatever. But I'm only gonna put it here in the middle, I believe, because that way I can kind of like localize, and it'll be easy to cover it if I put it in one spot versus if I put it all around. It'll be easy to cover it in one spot. So that's one of them. But yeah, this stuff is good and ripe, good and juicy. I should have done this a long time ago, but I was trying to wait for now. Ooh, juice. Let me see. Okay. So those, of course, gonna get cleaned out before they go back in the house to hold some more stuff. But now it's time to cover this stuff up. Before I cover it up, I just wanted to give y'all a close-up of that juicy goodness. This stuff is real nasty, but it's just because those microbes and stuff get into it, and that's going to be good fertilizer. So if you keep on throwing away your kitchen scraps, then you're missing out on good fertilizer, because that stuff will naturally break down the way God designed it and just feed your garden. So anyhow. Alright, so I got a trash can full of pine straw. I'm going to start putting that in here again, just here in the middle, to make it easier to kind of spread the stuff around. I need to kind of spread these scraps around a bit so they're not too tall. I'm keeping it in the middle so it's not too hard to cover this stuff, because I want to make it easy for myself in case, because I have to go to work soon. In case I don't really have enough time to spread enough of this stuff thickly, I want to keep it localized. Trash can after this, since I have to go do some stuff, but spread this around just slightly. So again, these wild animals around here will definitely be able to sense this stuff. Lay it on thick, spread it around pretty good. get another trash can. All right, let's put another trash can of this stuff on here. Spread it out. So I really want to cover that as quick as possible because there's probably still plenty for the animals to get to sniff it out, but you know, when you got other stuff that you're doing in your life or whatever, you just make stuff work. So we'll just hope for the best, and I'm gonna add some more stuff here, you know, maybe this evening or tomorrow. Keep on building this bed till we get it full. And keep in mind, all this stuff is gonna decompose. You know, we're gonna put some closer to finished compost, then the dirt on top of all of this. And I'm probably gonna put some more pine straw here around the edges to fill in those spaces too. So this is what we're building. Check it out. So I noticed some earthworms in here. Let me see if I can zoom in on this one. You see that? So this is pulling it out of that galvanized trash can. The earthworms have gotten in there, so you see they're eating good on our kitchen scraps. So that's a good sign. That tells you there's some good eats in here, at least for them. All right, let's keep on going. So I don't know how well you can tell because some of the stuff from the top just kind of has fallen to the bottom as I've been scooping out. But especially if you look kind of along here, that's just like, it just looks like dark, moist mud. And again, this started out as, you know, like coffee grounds, apple peels, apple cores, sweet potato peels, eggshells, coffee filters, tea bags, you know, and all kind of other, you know, lettuce scraps, all kind of other scraps that you put in. And that shows you, now some of this stuff has been here a long time, but I'm showing you how this stuff actually really does turn back into dirt. And so this is extremely rich stuff that's going to feed the next food that we're eating. So it's really cool to kind of see it kind of, you know, play out. All right, so I added all the compost that was in the trash can there. And so now the task is going to be to cover that with the final layer, which is going to be soil that I got one of those big old soil bags. Oh, let me get out of it. Well, shadow in there, but yeah, you probably can't really see. But the thing is, I'm having to cart it from the front because I couldn't get the soil dropped off in my backyard because of the way that my house is. So I'm having to cart it from the front. And you can't put too much in here at one time because it's extremely heavy and hard to deal with. So got some work in front of me, but we're gonna make it happen. All right, so that's 3 halfway full trash cans of dirt that I've put in here. If you look there, you see it's kind of like a hole that goes down in there. I'm gonna have to kind of fill that up with some more like, you know, like pine cones and brush and whatnot. Well, yeah, so I got a pretty good bit of work to do. I have to kind of get on to some other things. And I keep on adding dirt, and then hopefully tomorrow sometime I can plant some fall vegetables. All right, so I pretty much finished. As you see, I actually went ahead and planted some plants. Those are collard greens over there. But yeah, it's pretty much done. The reason why I say pretty much is I know that over time this thing is going to sink down because of the pine straw and all that kind of stuff like that I put in there, so there's a lot of air in there. I did, you know, a decent amount of soil, and I think it's at least about 3 inches deep all around, I would guesstimate. But yeah, anyway, I know I had to add soil in the future anyway, so gotta start somewhere. I'm gonna water these in. Get them good and set. Hopefully the chickens aren't too ambitious where they come and get in on this garden over here. My kids just let them out, so hopefully they're not too ambitious and they want to fly out here. But just to be cautious, I might need to go ahead and get some sort of barrier, because the chickens can, it's easy for them to get up here. I guess they just have to be curious enough. But anyway, that's all I got. I'm just watering the stuff in at this point. Yeah, so that's how you fill up a bed without spending an arm and a leg on soil. Let me know if this video is helpful, and you know, and if you actually have a garden or a channel or something like that, you know, feel free to link to it in the comments and let me see what you got going on. All right, y'all have a good one.